dissertation guide. I'm Becki and this is Hannah. We are actually a group of 4, but the other 2 couldn't be here today. We're all from St Luke's, we're all studying masters at the minute, but importantly we all did our undergrads at St Luke's as well, doing sports science. And during the process we had to do a dissertation module. And during that we found that actually there were a lot of problems, and they were mainly linked to the dissertation guidelines, which, although that isn't actually it, that's how most of us see it. We have all opted to do sport, and not to stereotype, we're not big in books. And I have to say mine is now underneath my wardrobe, doing a great job propping it up. And it's actually, talking to the dissertation supervisor, a lot of the MACE assessments, the complaints, are to do with the guidelines, because they're cumbersome, it's a big book, no one can access it, and there's a lot of problems there. So what we wanted to do when we came back is try to make this an easier process. So we had a brainstorming session and we thought about a leaflet, updating the handbook, or doing an internet guide. It was thought that a leaflet, or by updating it, was still quite inaccessible. People would read it once, chuck it away, prop up their wardrobe with it, and never use it again, whereas our dissertations we all do on the internet, on our computers, and therefore an internet guide would be very useful. You could use it throughout the process and keep using it all the time. So this is our original brainstorming session, and what we decided is we wanted to really cut back all the stuff in the dissertation guideline and just have all the important things really straight away accessible. So it was going to be a tab for each section of the dissertation, like getting started, how to form your idea, what to do in your data collection, how to book a laboratory. And we wanted it to be alongside a timeline, so that you knew that at each stage of the process you were at the right sort of stage. You weren't doing your ethics when actually you need to be writing up your dissertation. We chose a title of the Sport and Health Science dissertation, the Lukey Guide, because we wanted, the idea is to put it on Ellie, we wanted it to be official so people knew that it really was the right information, but at the same time know that it was a personalised approach, and obviously St Luke's like to think they have their own identity, so we wanted them to know that it was specific to them. As I said about the key factors we wanted including, but the idea was that it was personalised, so there's like a panic button and top tips, and they're all from our own experiences. There's videos of us talking and saying what we did well, and more likely what we did bad, and you shouldn't do yourselves. And they were the main factors for us.
So after having the initial brainstorming session that Becki just discussed, we then met with the Education Enhancement team, and they were extremely helpful and enthusiastic about the ideas that we had originally come up with as a group. So we met with them on a number of occasions, and it became apparent after the first meeting that actually, as much as we would love to think we've got the skills to develop an online tool such as the one we wanted to, we really wouldn't know where to start with that. So they, luckily it fitted amongst their remit, and they decided, or we decided as a group, that actually it's probably best that they actually take the lead on that, actually developing the tool. And we kind of switched places, and we became more the content advisors and consultants within our idea. So we met with them, as I said, a couple of times, and each time they developed the document, we developed it together, and then they would bring the document to our meetings, and we would look at it as a hard copy. So we actually had the web tool in hard form that we constantly were updating until we developed actually the final idea. So yeah, we kind of switched places. It then became apparent that actually we wanted to make it really interactive, and through our discussions we found that as students it's quite nice to actually see another student talking rather than someone that they might actually never have met. So with them, they came up with the idea, and we eventually agreed to it, that talking heads was actually a really good way of being interactive. So we were filmed, a number of the students, the guys that were involved with it, and also a few members of the sports science team. So our interactive web tool also involves talking heads as well. But luckily luckily enough to have the support of the education enhancement. So actually our final product is pretty much almost there. However, we did come across a few limitations to this study, a number of which was probably compromise, mainly with the talking heads. but actually it looks really good, so we're all really happy with it. And also sustainability. In the initial process, we really wanted something that was going to be constantly updated with perhaps what lecturers were saying at that current time. However, we found that that's probably not going to be very sustainable, so they encouraged us to go down more the route of having a more general outlay of what the whole dissertation process was about. So moving forward, we're hoping, as I said, that it's actually almost ready. So the next generation are really going to be looking at perhaps just doing a bit more market research in the first year of it being available to the undergrads and master's students, and perhaps just making a few tweaks if it's not quite what we were thinking it would be. And also just sustainability, so if anything drastic does change, then the education enhancement, it's not going to take a lot of man hours to just update the tool.
Hopefully this video will work, but this is just a little sneak preview of the web. It's not fully done yet, but this is just some, I don't know if it's going to work.
You brought the video, is it a link, or is it?
It's on the PowerPoint.
But it's a video?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to make sure you have the video as well as the PowerPoint, so it doesn't actually save the video in the PowerPoint. But
okay. Well, this is an example of our talking heads.